Hi, how you doing? I'm Sharon. I garden on a large yard in a small town in east central Saskatchewan, Zone 3. This is my Sask Garden, where I hope to bring you advice and tips and tricks for all about cold zone gardening. Today I want to talk about protecting perennials for the winter. A lot of us wonder if we should apply some sort of winter protection to our perennials. The long and short of it is, if you have any plants that are rated a zone above you or higher, so for me that would be zone 4 or higher, then you'll want to apply a winter mulch. Also, if there's any plants that are vulnerable, and I'll just get to that in a minute and explain that more. You also may wonder what you can use to protect your perennials for the winter. Well, you can use shredded leaves, dried leaves. That's a really good one. You may worry about them blowing away, rightly so. And so you can make cages out of chicken wire and then fill that cavity with the leaves. You can also lay out all your shredded leaves on top of your plants and then lay a length of chicken wire over top. That works really well. You can use straw. Straw is excellent. It's actually my preference. For me, I find that straw, even in a really windy area, rarely blows away. You can use dry peat moss, but if you have more than a plant or two to protect, that's going to get pretty expensive for you. You can use shredded bark mulch, that works pretty good. Or you can use a lightweight compost, and you'd want that compost to have plenty of brown bits in it, or perhaps even mix your compost with shredded leaves, and that would work really well. You wouldn't want to use green grass clippings at this point. They would still have the ability to heat up and destroy or damage the crown of your plant. I actually killed rhubarb by doing that exact thing. Put green grass clippings over the crown of the plant, thinking I would protect it. It heated up, and I killed not one, but I think 3 ornamental rhubarb plants. Um, Dried grass clippings, on the other hand, or those dried grass clippings mixed with dried leaves would be an excellent winter mulch to use. I have used as well leaf pillows, and that is bags filled with leaves, and then you put those leaf-filled bags right over top of a plant. Those are really good if you want to protect it from too much moisture, because it would prevent moisture from getting on your plants. Most of the plants, you want them to benefit from moisture, so that may not be your ideal, but that does work as well. Leaving perennial foliage also works. It works to insulate the crown of the plant. It also helps to trap the snow. And really, that's what you want to do, is you want something that is going to insulate the crown. You're going to want to trap the snow. Snow is actually the best insulator, I think, if we get enough of it, and that's always the trick. I prefer to use straw. Old straw is great too. In the past, I have covered all of the perennial beds with about 6 inches of either oats, barley, or wheat straw. And then I just didn't take it off in the spring. I left it there as a mulch through the growing season. In the spring, the plants grew up through the mulch without any problem. Through the winter, the snow packed the mulch down or packed that straw down into a nice mulch, and the color changed from a yellow or golden color to kind of a tan color, and so it all but disappears, really. So as I said, the plants grew up through the straw just fine. I had no issue there. I didn't have to move any of the straw. Oh, maybe a bit here and there just to get it off the top of the plant, but I didn't have to move it so that the plants could emerge. Um, that it held down the weeds through the growing season, and at the same time, it retained the moisture. In particular, that melting snow moisture, it retained it for quite some time. In the years where we didn't get sufficient moisture, I still had good moisture in the soil from the straw mulch. So I routinely did this every couple of years, which is what you have to do with the cereal straws because they do break down fairly quickly. I think wheat straw probably breaks down the quickest. Um, I did this again last year, last fall, about a year ago now, but I used flax straw instead of cereal straw. And I didn't cover everything entirely like I did prior because just because of the nature of flax straw, it's a lot tougher. It doesn't break down quickly, which is what I wanted, to see if it's going to last longer. And I'm just going to have to judge going forward if I will have to continue to reapply as much as I did with the cereal straw. If I do, I will probably go back to using wheat straw or something like that instead of continuing on with flax straw. The reason for flax straw was simply because um, it is a tougher straw. Now, flax straw will make an excellent winter mulch because of the nature of it, and it will be easy to pick up and remove from your plants in the spring if you want to do that. It would also be pretty easy to store, only because it's not going to break down and rot very quickly. If you use wheat, oats, barley straw, you're probably going to get a bit of whatever crop that straw was from, you're going to get a bit of germinating, but they're usually pretty easy to pull up. I had hoped from the flax straw that I would get some germinating, but I had no pretty blue flowers. The straw was old, so I suspect there was just no viable seeds left. The other question is, when do you want to put that mulch on? And we want to wait until the ground is frozen or freezing before we put the mulch on. And one of the reasons for that is we don't want to attract rodents to nest in that straw. And if we wait until the ground is frozen or at least freezing, really, really cold, those rodents have already found somewhere else to make their winter nests, and they won't bother in the straw. I haven't ever actually found any evidence of rodents. I've never found nests. I've never found mouse poop or anything like that. So saying that straw is going to attract rodents is not entirely correct if you use it, if you put it down at the right time. Also, if you apply your mulch too early in the fall while the soil is still warm, it could cause some heaving of plants out of the soil. And heuchera, which is also known as coral bells, is quite common. It's well known for heaving. So that's one plant that you'll probably want to make sure that you wait till the soil's frozen and then apply a winter mulch. You'll also want to check on that plant early in the year, early in the growing season, to see if it has heaved up at all out of the soil and step on it to get it back in to the soil and hopefully save it. So really what a winter mulch does is not keep the soil warm because our soil is going to freeze no matter what. We could pile whatever we want on there and that soil is still going to freeze. What it is going to do, that winter mulch is going to do, is it's going to prevent the freeze-thaw cycle. Those freeze-thaw cycles are what can cause winter kill. We want the soil to get cold, frozen, and we want it to stay that way. We want the plants to stay dormant until it's safe for them to start waking up in the spring. So if we get a couple of weeks in February, for example, that the temperatures are really nice and everything starts to melt, and it's nice to get that midwinter thaw, but we need those plants to stay dormant. We don't want the plant to start triggering some growth because that's where they succumb to winter kill. I think that the middle of March to the end of April is probably the hardest time for plants because the sun is really warm. If we get a warm spell, but it can still drop to -20 at night. And so it's warming up and everything during the day and then freezing solid again at night. And that's hard on the plants. If we have something covering the soil, though, um, it's preventing the soil from warming up, or at least warming up as much as bare soil would, especially bare black soil. It'll attract the sun and warm up pretty quick. So for zones 2, 3, 4, right now is an ideal time to be planning to spread your winter mulch, but not necessarily getting it on right now. Your plan is going to include watching the forecast for the next few days, not only how warm it's going to be during the day, but also how cold it's going to be at night. Because right now the temperature in the soil drops more at night than it actually warms during the day because we're colder for longer. The warm part of the day is really only for a few hours right now. So that's what you need to watch. And in the meantime, get ready, get your material ready, get your bales ready, or what straw, whatever product you're going to be putting on, get it ready so that it can be done when the conditions are right. So what do we mulch? Well, the basic perennials that we all grow in zone 3, daylilies, peonies, hostas, catmint, most of the sedums, penstemon, bleeding hearts, monica, salvia, perennial geraniums, those iris, those are all very hardy. There may be some exceptions with the new cultivars that may be rated zone 4 or higher. And so anything that, as I said earlier, anything that is zone 4 or higher, you will want to winter protect to be on the safe side. In addition, if your plants are planted in a vulnerable position um, where the soil warms early in the spring, then you probably should be thinking about a winter protection on those plants as well. For example, this year I bought a Boom Chocolata perennial geranium. That's rated a zone 4. It's newly planted this year. And third, it is in a vulnerable position on the south side, a few feet away from the south side of my greenhouse. So that area gets a lot of snow, but it's also, because it's on the south side of the greenhouse, it is vulnerable to early thaw, and it can then go through that freeze thaw cycle. So to be on the safe side, to protect that investment of that geranium, because it was an expensive plant, I'm going to put winter protection on it once the soil starts to freeze. So if you have plants on the south or west sides of buildings, those would be vulnerable to early thaws and possibly refreezing. And they're also more protected plants. They may not refreeze or succumb to the freeze-thaw cycle and winter kill. You may have seen my video on the bulb planting where I talked about planting fritillaria. Fritillaria are not hardy, or they're not supposed to be hardy to zone 3. I think they are actually zone 5, but where I had them planted close to the house on the south side of the house, they did winter just fine. However, they did also start coming up early. They pop out of the soil early, and I wasn't expecting that. I did cover them because I wasn't sure how much they could take for winter or for that late spring cold. This year, I think that I'm going to put some flax straw squares over top when the bales are made. That straw is compressed, and then when they're older, you can sort of peel off layers from the bale instead of it all coming apart loose. It comes off in sections, and so you just peel off a layer of that straw and put it down over top of the plants, and that's what I'm intending to do for the fritillaria. I have a few new phlox plants too that I wonder about, but in my experience, phlox don't pop out of the ground very early. They do take their time to wake up, and so I don't really think that they are vulnerable. I do have one on the south side of the greenhouse that I will probably put a square of flax straw over top just as added insurance. That is a newly planted perennial this year, and again, I think it's zone 3. I'm pretty sure it's zone 3. However, two factors exist there for it possibly needing winter protection, so I'll go with that. I'm trying to get some ground cover, ajuga or bugleweed going. The plants that I planted, one is black scallop, another one is a marble something, I believe, and they were all rated to zone 4. Even now, at the end of October, they look beautiful. They are really strong growers, and I feel like there won't be any trouble with them. I have read of zone 3 success with those plants without any extra intervention. But again, just to be on the safe side, I think that I will give them some winter protection um, to keep them going. And finally, I have a small strawberry bed that I started this year. In that bed, I planted 6 everbearing and 6 June-bearing. That bed does have a straw mulch right now, but when the ground freezes a bit more, I'm going to put on a good 6 inches of, uh, of cereal straw over top of that bed. And despite all our best efforts, winter happens. We don't know what kind of winter it's going to be. It might not be any snow. It might be a ton of snow. It might be 40 below, or it might be like last year where, it was a pretty mild winter. Um, Last year I lost a couple of sea thrift and a couple of pinks. And that really actually surprised me. Pinks grow well in other parts of my yard, um, but I lost those two. Those pinks that I lost were growing in my new rock garden area, and so there might be something to that area. Maybe the rocks warm up and cause the plant to start putting on growth. I can't really say if it was a spring loss from a spring thaw cycle or not. However, um, where every plant that dies, there's always room to plant something new, possibly something better, something nicer. And so it's a loss, but it's also an opportunity to try something else. Thanks very much for joining me today. I hope you found it helpful or informative in some way. If you did, give me a thumbs up, tell your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Or perhaps maybe you have an idea of your own for winter protecting or a question. Leave me a comment down below. Thanks again. See you.